Hello, everyone, and welcome to Worthy, a New Covenant podcast. It's your host, Mike Day, alongside our special guest today, Terry Brooks. How are you doing?
I am doing fine. Always good to be in the house of the Lord.
Very much so. Had a little technical difficulties today, and, sometimes it's like that.
Well, it is, but that's all right. God makes a way.
He does. He's made a way, and we're here. There are a few announcements before Terry and I really get into today's episode. Excited about today's episode. A few announcements. Also have Pastor Appreciation Day coming up November 2nd. And then we also have the Christmas play coming up. And I'm pretty sure that those dates are in the middle of December. And let me see. I think it's December 13th and 14th. Actually, I know it is. So hopefully you can be in attendance for that as well. Again, men's ministry is always the last Monday of the month, and then women's ministry is the last Sunday of the month. So don't forget about those ministry opportunities to come in and hear from God and just be in community with fellow brothers and sisters. So there is that. Well, all right. So getting right into the episode today, Mr. Terry, how are you doing?
I am doing great. How about yourself, Mike?
Doing good. Let's just talk about yourself. What you got going on? Who are you? How long you been at New Covenant Church? And a little bit about you.
Well, a little bit about me. I'm a Christian. I'm proud to say that. I'm an ex-military guy. And just a general, I guess, as people say, somebody just a good old guy, I guess. Good old boy, as they call me.
Good old boy. Yeah. So you said you were in the military. What exactly did you do in the military?
Well, Mike, I started back in, that was May the 5th of 1985. I joined the Navy. Spent 4 years in the Navy, and then I got out. Tried my hand at commercial route of things. And then I decided that wasn't working for me, so I went back in for another 4 years. And then those 4 years, my wife and I, Rhonda, we went over to Italy for 3 years. And one of those years, we went over to Rhoda, Spain.
Okay. And you did what in the Navy?
I was a radio operator. I operated the radios and talking to the ships and the submarines and all that good stuff. So.
Okay. And you did 8 years there.
And I did 4 years in Norfolk, Virginia, because my orders got froze, so that's where I was at for the first 4 years. And then my second 4 years, I spent 3 years in Italy and 1 year in Rhoda, Spain.
Okay. And after the military, what'd you do?
After the military, I tried to find me a civilian job, and they went down to a cotton mill down in a little town called Geneva, Alabama. I don't know if anybody knows where that's at, but that's where it was at. And I spent a year into that, and I was like, nope, this is not for me. So I got out of that, went into pest control, and I worked for Terminex International for 7 years. My wife, she moved from her job, she moved up to Auburn, Opelika area, because she was a social worker. She worked for the state. And so I told her, no, go up there before we move and see if you like it first. And if you like it, we'll move. And she liked it, and so we moved. So that's how we ended up in this neck of the woods. And then after that, I worked with Master Brand Cabinets down in Auburn for about 7 years. And in the meantime, I had joined the Alabama National Guard. And my complete time in there, I spent from 1997 all the way up to 2018 time frame.
Wow. So where did you say you retired from?
Well, I retired out of the Alabama National Guard over in Montgomery, over the headquarters.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Awesome. And now you're a bee maker or beekeeper.
I am a beekeeper.
Bee maker, beekeeper. Yeah. How you like that?
I like it, but it's one of those things, though, people ask me, do you like to get stung? And I'm like, well, nobody likes to get stung, but everybody likes the honey. So somebody's got to go out there and get stung to be able to get the honey. And that would be me as a beekeeper.
Tell us about that. Tell us about what the operations of beekeeping is and about bees. Just tell us a little bit about that.
Well, beekeeping is it's one of those things that is just like anything else. You need to probably be mentored in it before you actually become a beekeeper, because it might not be something that you might want to partake of. But once you go through there and decides you want to do it, main thing is to either get a mentor to mentor you in it, or join a club. Like I've got here in town, we've got a Tallapoosa River Bee Association, which you can actually become a beekeeper. And we're going to have that. Matter of fact, if I can say, we're going to have that course in January starting up. And it does for like 2 weeks. And you can actually become a beekeeper that way.
That's nice. So, about how many times a year do you get honey? What is the?
Well, on the honey process of things, that's going to be determined about your floral blooming out there. I mean, your flowers blooming and stuff such as that. So, I mean, you could conceivably get 2 harvests of honey, but if you get that first one that really does good during springtime, you can gather that up, and if there's still flowers blooming, you can put those supers, which that's the ones that we gather the honey out of, put those back on the hives, and then you might be able to get, if you do real good, you get a fall crop out of them. So you could conceivably get 2 crops if the florals out there, say, nectar.
And you said one of them is in spring and one of them is when?
And it could be early fall.
Early fall.
That's correct.
So how much honey did you get this past year?
Well, this past year, God blessed me greatly. He gave me 240 pounds of honey. And to put that in perspective, a 5-gallon bucket is 60 pounds of honey. So I got 4 of those this year. This is the best year I've ever had.
Wow. And you use those for personal use, right?
I use it for personal use. My wife uses it for cooking. We use it for sore throats. You can use that for that. You put a little lemon juice in it. But the main thing is that I sell my honey, and I sell it at flea markets and things like Alexander's Flea Market. I sell it at the Daleville Fall Fest and other ventures that I can sell my honey at. So. And I've had a few people here at church that likes my honey too. So.
Well, that's good. That's good. So you got a variety of things going on. Military, Navy. You said radio operator, right?
I was a radio operator in the Navy. That's correct.
Now, not meaning to backtrack, but explain that. What do you do in that position?
Well, a radio operator mainly goes through and communicates with ships, submarines, anything that has to have communication, P-3s, which is aircraft. But you had to go through there and you had to designate a certain frequency to talk to each individual entity out there that's running either in the water, on top of the water, or even in the air. So you had to patch these frequencies in to be able to talk to each individual there. And they were encrypted signals that you sent to those, because it couldn't just be open air when anybody could hear, or an enemy per se, go through there and hear in on your conversations.
And did you enjoy that?
Oh, yes. I enjoyed it. It was good. I had some good camaraderie with my fellow seamen, as they call them, out there. I mean, we had fun talking to a ship over in France, and I was over in Norfolk, Virginia, and they said, how's the weather there? And I say, well, it's sunny. I said, how's the weather there? And they say, well, it's better than there. And I'm like, so, that's one of those things you got to take and give a little bit, I guess.
Right. That's really neat. How did you, what was your feelings or process of coming into civilian life? Because you mentioned that you were searching for a civilian job after the military. Did you find that difficult?
Well, it was difficult, but no, if you go through there and if you're really looking for work, there's work out there for you. It might not be the work you want, but you might have to be the work you have to take until you can do better. But it was definitely a hard transition from military to civilian life, because everything in the military was handed to you, and everything was planned for you, so you knew what to expect. But in civilian life, if you don't plan it, it doesn't happen. Nobody's going to hold your hand in civilian life.
Interesting. And would you classify yourself as a believer during that process?
I would. I did. Yeah, I spent a year, Mike, over in when I was in the National Guard. We got called up to duty after 9/11. I got called up from 2004 to 2005. Spent a year over there in Kuwait. And that whole time I said, Lord, just make me where I don't have to shoot anybody or do anything. And he answered my prayer. And here I'm today, and I'm a free man. So I don't have any guilt on my head about harming anyone.
That's good. That's good. Um, when would you say you became a believer?
I've always been a believer. I mean, back in when I was back in the late 70s, when the man started taking me to church, I mean, I believed in God, but I just didn't go to church regularly like I should. And of course, if you don't go, eventually the Lord, He's going to chase you and say, look, you need to be where I tell you to be. And that's where He wants you to be. And so go where He wants you to be. And that way, He'll quit chasing you and you can do what He wants you to do.
Right. Right. And how long have you been at New Covenant?
I've been at New Covenant, regular, going on about a couple of years now. Regular. And yeah, I mean, me and my wife, we did a little time at one time. We came and just to how you go through and check a church out, see how it runs. So we did that for a little while, and and then eased out of it. But going regular, we started in back in November. No, that was right. That's December 2023, and then we started regular in January of 2024. And then I actually got the Holy Spirit upon me in April of 2024, and after that, it was all said and done, and it's not a Sunday that I want to miss.
That's awesome. It's crazy how when the Lord enters your life and your desires change. I remember back before I loved the Lord and before the Lord saved me, or before I came into saving faith, I didn't want to come at all. I'd rather spend my Sundays doing whatever than be here. And then the Lord shows up on the scene, and it's like, no, your desires change completely. And it's when I used to go to church before I loved the Lord, it almost felt like a chore.
That's right.
But then
right.
you come in now, and it's like you want to be here. You long for Sundays. You long for Wednesdays or whatever days, men's ministry. You long for stuff just to be in the Lord's presence and be around people that are like-minded. It's interesting how your desires just change.
And that's right. That's just because of the Lord is His love on you. You know what it is about now, so that's why you want more of it. And when you want more of it, you're going to be returning to get that love.
Right.
So that's the way the Holy Spirit runs on you, and the love of God runs on you, and makes your life more meaningful when you're in His house than other things. He says, my love is more important than you doing what Mike wants to do and Terry wants to do, and then I want you to do what I want you to do.
That's right. Yeah. That's right. That's interesting. So we were talking a little bit before we did the podcast, and you mentioned something I didn't really get to know much of it at the time, but I'd like to know it now for everybody else to listen to it. You told me you had an experience.
I did. I sure did. Yeah, it was back in I guess I was out of the military then, and that's when I first started my civilian job. I had mentioned to you, and with me and my wife were in the home like normal people are at night, and getting dinner ready and stuff like that, and sitting around watching the TV, and all of a sudden about 9 o'clock we got a knock on our door, and I was like, well, what the world? Who's knocking on my door at 9 o'clock at night? I don't know this person, and I saw. With curiosity, I started peek through the shades, looked through there, and there was a man there, beard, and he had all kinds of carpenter tools with him. He had a carpenter's pouch, and he had a T-square, everything that a carpenter would have. He had that. And I was like, well, I felt a peace of mind. I was telling my wife, Rhonda, I said, hey, I'm going to answer this door and see what this man wants. And I answered the door. He says, hey, my truck's broke down the road. Can I get a ride to town? I was like, just a minute. Let me talk to my wife. So I shut the door, and her had a discussion about it. I said, I just feel full of peace coming over and say to take this man to town. So I said, sure, I'll take you to town. And so we loaded up his stuff in the back of the truck, and here we went to town. And him and I had a little chit-chat, and I really don't recall what we chit-chatted about. But he says, I want to stop at this location. And it used to be almost like the junior food stores down the glass fronts to them and the swinging doors. So that was pitch black, Mike. And so I dropped this man off. I said, hey, get all your tools. And he said, oh, yeah, by the way, would you like me to give you a hammer for your time and your gas? I said, no, sir. What I want you to do, though, is I want you to give someone else the same courtesy I gave you to help them out in need. And I turned that truck around and I looked back to see where the man is, totally disappeared. No one in sight, lights went on, doors weren't swinging or anything such as that. But I went home, I said, oh, somebody must be going to, he's getting me away from the house and somebody's taking over the house. So I run to the house real quick because back then we didn't have cell phones. So I got home and went in there. My wife says, no, everything's fine. I said, well, no, that's kind of odd. Somebody at 9 o'clock disappear like that on me. And I was like, he said his vehicle's down the road somewhere. So I go and I look for this vehicle, and there's no vehicle nowhere in sight, Mike, on any of those roads off of my house. So I don't know. I believe that could have been an angel there.
Wow. So you said that you looked back and he wasn't there.
He wasn't there. He just thin air, gone. The lights weren't on in the place. The doors wasn't swinging, and the man was no longer. I mean, you could know if he was carrying a lot of tools like that, you'd walk kind of slow. But when I turned around that quick, that man was gone, nowhere in sight.
And you brought him where?
And I took him to the location he wanted to be. It was like a junior food store. I don't know if you ever experienced that, but it's got solid glass pane of glass all the way across, so you can see inside of it. And even the doors were that way. And but the lights were off where he wanted to be dropped off at. No one there, just him and I. Dropped him off, and I turned my car around. And then when I left, I looked back, and that man's gone. Tools, him, and all gone.
Wow, that's wild.
That is wild. And I told one lady one time about that, and she says, I got one on you. I said, well, tell me about it. She said, I was going to Montgomery, and there's this old man out there on Highway 85. Says, I seen him, and he said, man, I just want to stop off that old man and pick him up. So she did. And I was like, okay, well, what? I'm curious, what went on? He said, well, I told him to get in the back seat because it was hot, and we'll turn the air on and cool off. She says, he was talking, and she was talking, and he looked at her, and because she see her in the rearview mirror, she could see him. And she said, I'm glad I picked you up. And he said, I'm glad you did too. He said, I got a message for you. She said, well, what is that? He said, I just want to tell you that God loves you. And she's moving now 70 miles an hour on 85. That highway's pretty busy. And she said, well, thank you. I know he loves me. And she looked at the mirror. The man was gone. She looked around the back seat. The man is gone. No doors open or anything. She's running 70 miles an hour down the road. That man gone. So I guess that was her angel too.
Wow. Those are some wild experiences.
Everybody's got an angel, Mike. You just got to be keyed up on it. Hey, is that coincidence or is that God sending an angel to you?
Yeah. Yeah. Man, I'm not even sure what to say to that.
Well, I do. You go through there and you praise God for it. I mean,
yeah.
Because to have the ability to see an angel, that angel looked to me just like you and I are looking at each other right now. Just as plain as day. I could touch the man, but I didn't touch him, but I could have. And then he just disappeared on me that night. So,
wonder where the carpenter tools and all that came in. And
not for sure exactly what that is, but but I assumed that, hey, Jesus was a carpenter. So he says, hey, I'm going to see something. So I'm going to send someone that looks similar to me. Of course, it wasn't Jesus, but it was send someone like me. Maybe that'll say, hey, I've got a thing for you. I'm going to test you, give you a trial, and see if you pass it. See if you can give this man a ride at 9 o'clock at night, because there's not many houses out there.
Man, it's crazy.
So that just shows you just how much God loves you.
Mm-hmm. It's amazing the things that God does. It's amazing. It's been on my heart this week, and I don't know why it has been. I'm not exactly sure why this has been in my head or in anything like that. But that song, I'm not sure exactly who wrote it, but it kind of goes that, "Come Jesus, come. We've been waiting so long."
CC Winans.
Yeah, yeah. She sings it. I don't know if she wrote it, but I know she sings it.
Right.
And it's just amazing to listen to that song. If y'all haven't listened to it, I mean, I'd encourage you the moment that you get done with this podcast to go listen to it, because I don't know, it just puts me in a different headspace. It's like, the things of this world doesn't matter.
That's right.
It's kingdom minded,
right.
And we got to be that way.
That's right.
We can be so consumed in the world and things of this world and just things that may be going on or anything like that, and that the song just kind of resets the focus of, I would rather Jesus come.
That's correct. That's right. Well, I own that song. I never heard it, but my wife, she said, "I want you to listen to that," and so I have no choice on that. I got to listen to it anyway. But I like the song that Hillsong sings, called "Lead Me to the Cross."
Yeah,
I love that song.
Yep. I think Jill actually sings I think she sung "Come Jesus Come" before as well. But it's an amazing song.
It is.
Really is. So, what you got going on this week?
Well, let's see. Well, we got Columbus Day coming up. So we have a free
day. What day?
Columbus Day coming up.
Oh, that's tomorrow.
That's tomorrow. So
I'm off work.
Off work. A good deal. I'm retired. I'm semi-retired. I don't have work. At least my bees tell me I have to work. Yeah. But no, I've got to get me some house paint. I think we're going to paint our house. So I've got to get that into plans. I always try to do that when it's a little cooler.
You paint your house regularly?
Well, no, not regular. Now. I paint about every 15 years or so. So
I didn't know if it was like one of those things where come beginning of the year, you're like, my house is going to be orange this year. I'm going to paint it a different color every year.
No, actually, we got our house re-roofed with some metal roofing.
Oh yeah, that's nice.
So we're going to go through there and clean it up a little bit with some new paint. So we're going to make it a little bit more crisp. And the level tin roof, or metal roof, as they say. And then we're going to add a little bit of paint to that to make it really pop and make it last a lot longer. So
what color were you going to go?
We're going to go with, I'm not for sure what that green is. We're going to go with green with brown trim and a little light brown trim for the accent areas, like garage doors, maybe a pergola. We'll go with a little bit lighter brown color. So,
well, that's nice. So, what is your house made out of? Like, what is the outside?
My house was back in the 80s, I guess maybe in the mid-80s. So they built the house out of masonite. My house is built of masonite, and of course, when that man built that house, he meant that house to stay there. My house was in good shape, and the window sill, I actually had to take a window trim off of one of my windows to put new windows in it, because they was old windows, and those windows were actually framed up with 2x6s instead of 2x4s. So that house was built well, real good. And but I've done just about anything in the house, Mike, you can do. Other than roofing myself, I've done everything. Paint job, paint's on the wall. I put it there more chances are. Did the flooring in it, tore all the carpet out of it, and made it ours.
So what you're saying is, since you've been retired, you've been busy.
Well, I didn't say retiring. I said I was semi-retired. So, retire is when you don't do anything. Semi-retire is when you still do things that retired people don't do.
Oh no!
So you got that to look to when you get into retirement age.
I'm sure you enjoy it, though. I'm sure you enjoy it. When y'all gonna start? Are y'all gonna get somebody to do it, or y'all gonna try to paint it yourself?
No. I'm a jack of all trades. Remember, I do all this stuff, so I'm gonna do it myself. I can paint. Yeah, I've done all the painting. Yeah, I can paint. So, I've actually painted someone's house for them, or painted a room or two for them, and then I can actually go through there and paint. So.
Are you gonna spray it or roll it? Or
no, I'm gonna roll it.
Roll it.
Yeah, paint it. I'm gonna paintbrush the trim, and I'm gonna roll the rest of it. Yeah. And I'm gonna use some good quality paint when I do it too.
So how much property do you have? I mean, it's going back to the bees here? Mm-hmm. I just think, how much property do you really need to have bees?
Well, you don't have to have a lot of property. For the hives, there's not an actual set. You shouldn't really crowd them up. But as long as you got a lot of things blooming around, you can have quite a bit of bees on a piece of property. I mean, I've got, my wife and I, we got maybe about, was it right at about just a little less than 3 acres of land. So I've got that much, but I don't have all my hives set up on my property. The majority of mine, I got 14 hives sitting on it. But but I got a farmer that lives behind me, so he plants a lot of stuff. So they got plenty of stuff to go gather from, even though I'm here in town. So.
And does he like that?
Oh yeah.
I mean, does it help him out?
It does. Yeah, he had a garden, and he said his garden just didn't do any good. So once I got the bees over on his property, now he has abundance of gardening. So he's lots of stuff blooming, and he got a lot of pollination going on for the bees. So he does real good.
Bees help that out.
That's correct. But you know, if the bees, though, talking about those, Mike, you go through there, if you don't have bees, you don't have pollination. If you don't have pollination, you don't have anything that produces, no fruits, no nuts, none of that stuff you have. You don't have a good garden, as they say. But a bee is the only thing that can actually go through there efficiently now. Keep that in mind, efficiently. Pollinate an almond orchard where you can actually get almonds. That's why they ship them in by the truckloads to pollinate the almond orchards over in California. And that's the only insect that can do that efficiently.
Wow. You know, that's just part of God's amazing creation.
That is.
You know, it's amazing because Psalms 19:1 says, "The heavens declare the glory of God, the skies proclaim the work of his hands." And you really can see that. You can see the work of his hands in all of that. It's pretty amazing.
You can. You just have to open your eyes, Mike, to look for it. It's there. You just got to open your eyes to see it.
Yep. So other than a house paint, what else you got going on?
Well, I've got another event I'm going to go to, try to maybe sell some more of my honey. I'm going to go over to Union Community Center over in Union City, which is right off of Highway 50 here, just outside of Davil. I'm going to do that Saturday. I'm going to be out there to between 1 and 5. That's when they set me up and sell some more of my honey. And if I get that sold, I'll be done for the year. And then other than that, I mean, other than just waiting for things to happen, it'll happen, and I'll just go on from there. So take day by day.
So do you have a certain amount you have to make before you say, okay, I'm going to sell this amount, I'm going to keep this amount?
Well, no, not exactly. I mean, I try to save some up for us first, our consumption and our family's needs. But if I have anything outside of that, but the bees, I mean, you got to figure now, once you get a frame of honey, that can weigh 3 pounds. So if you normally have 10 of those frames in a box, so if you add that up, 10 frames times 3, that's 30 pounds of honey in one box. And there, I'd mentioned that I've got 17 hives. So 17 hives, if they all make honey, well, you can figure out that's a lot of honey.
What do you store it in?
You can store it in, well, if you go through there and you extract it out, would you take off the cappings off of the frames, and then once you string it, you actually put it in an extractor, and you sling that honey out, centrifugal force slings it out, and you can drain it into a 5-gallon bucket, stage it there for a week or so, let the bubbles and stuff like that work out of it, and then you can actually do that, and then move it into a glass container or a bottle container, squeeze bottle. So then from there, you can actually just sell it or consume it yourself.
That's neat. That's real neat. So before we kind of end this podcast, Mr. Terry, you've done a lot of things in your life. You've been in the military, done pest control, honeys. You've done honeys. You've done bees.
Yeah, done beekeeping. Yes,
beekeeping,
correct.
or you're still doing that. You're semi-retired. What would one thing of encouragement you would give to someone that's starting to find God or become in a relationship with God?
Well, on that, Mike, what I would say is I've learned to go ahead and put God first in everything that you do. And then once you do that, everything else will pay into play. And you always put God first in any situation, and he'll make sure whatever's that he needs you to have, that you will have it. And that's the main thing that is on that. I mean, I've done a lot of things in my life, but on my early part, I never did put God first, but now I have, And that's the greatest spirits in the world right there to me. So,
Right. I think I like it what Pastor Guy said this morning. One thing that just resounds in my brain from what he said, if I took anything out of it today, it was this. We were in Ephesians, and he said, being of God, knowing that God chose us before we were even born, should give us confidence in the Lord of his power. And really and truly, if you really think about that, nothing should make us afraid, because fear, and I said this one other time in another podcast with Casey, fear is a spirit, and it is a spirit that will hinder you from, it's paralyzing. Fear is paralyzing. It does not let you grow. But where God is, there should be no fear, because God has chosen you to be his son or daughter, and you should have the confidence and the power that he has given you. And I think that's amazing.
Yeah, it is. It is, Mike. You go through there, you go through and experience that feeling of fearlessness, nothing else can stop you. And then you got God on your side, and as they say, if God's for you, who can be against you?
Right. Right. And you know what's so funny, and I'm going to say this, it's so funny. I'm actually just going to ask you, how'd you meet Miss Rhonda?
Miss Rhonda, well, that come to where I used to be another jack of all trades. I used to be an orderly in a nursing home one time, and I stayed there. I was actually working that prior to me going into the military active duty, which was back in the early 80s. And I met her by me being an orderly and taking care of her granddad, which was in that nursing home. I took care of him, and we met when she come to visit her granddad in that environment. And I said, "Oh, I knew that." Her friend asked me, said, "Do you not see that girl?" And I said, "I did." "Hey, she wants to meet you." I said, "Well, okay, then we'll meet then." And then we struck it off like that, and we dated. And the next thing I know, I asked her hand in marriage.
Exactly.
And back in 1986.
And, it's funny. The reason why I even bring this up is because if you had fear of that, nothing would have ever happened, because you would have never pursued that. In the same sense, because if you would have been afraid or something, you know what I mean? Or I guess if you, thinking of before time, if you get nervous to talk to someone, a relationship can never grow.
Right.
Because you're afraid. I guess my point in that is if you have fear of something, it paralyzes you to where there's no growth.
That's correct. Well, as a young man back then, I've done things that I'm not proud of, and I'm here to say that, and I don't think anyone is. But I went through there, and I did this little dating game and go see some girls and stuff like that, and did things that there again I'm not proud of, and never did meet the right girl that I say I want to settle down with her and marry her. So I went through one night, I came in, I said, enough's enough. And I said, Jesus, I'm gonna take faith in you. I need me someone that I'm gonna spend the rest of my life with. I want you to bring that person to me. So in that prayer, was it answered that night? No, it wasn't. But it was answered. And it was answered when I seen her in that nursing home and her friend and going through there and introducing us, and then from there sparks run off, and God answered that prayer that time for me.
Yeah, and his timing.
And that's right, and his timing.
Perfect timing.
That is correct.
I guess I just say this that's on my heart again in my brain, that don't let fear paralyze you. Understand that the power of God is in you, and that should give you every confidence in the world.
That is correct. And because fear is just like anything else. It's a destroyer. And it's God didn't put you here on the earth to be one that's fearing all the time. He put you here to have joy. And then once you have that joy and know in relationship with him, there again, if he's for you, no one else can be against you.
That's right.
Not even fear.
That's right. Mr. Terry, it was a pleasure.
It was a pleasure, Mike. I enjoyed it. I enjoyed talking. And then anytime you want to talk, we can talk.
We can talk. Yeah. It's very awesome to have you on. I appreciate you. I appreciate your time. Sorry for the technical difficulties before,
Oh, that's
but
fine.
it happens. So, anyways, Christmas play December 13th and 14th, and Pastor Appreciation November 2nd, and just come out, enjoy us, and
That's correct.
thank you, Mr. Terry, and I hope everyone has a good week.